are a point behind Manchester City still, but it does go down to the far day. To get this title race down to the final day, not the far day, you know what I mean? To get from January the 15th, where there was a 14-point gap, Liverpool, yes, had 2 games in hand at that stage, to get from there to now going down in the middle of May to the final day of the season, what a title run-in this has been already.
And for a large portion of the season as well, towards the end here, that people are talking about the quadruple, that just adds pressure into your team, into your squad. You know, we saw with the FA Cup final how much that took out of them, but they got that done. Then that game against Southampton, it is a fantastic effort. It is a fantastic effort, and if they can't do any more in respect of what they've got to do to chase down a team like Manchester City. You know, they can't do any more Liverpool, and they're still fighting on all fronts. It's an unbelievable testament to their squad. Yeah. Unbelievable testament to their squad and the attitude of the squad, the mentality of the squad. Everybody is just fighting the same direction, and this is why what you want is a team to make Man City, even though you have to, of course you fancy Man City to win, but you make them have to win, you know? It's like, ask the question. Don't let them just don't go to Southampton, and because you've gone into such a tough game with Chelsea in the cup final, you know, people say, yeah, but people will excuse you from that because it was really tough. No, ask the question of City, and that is what they've done, and it's been a magnificent effort.
But interesting that they did it with 9 changes to their starting lineup. There were players in there who hadn't made Premier League starts in a long time. Minamino's been a cup player for Liverpool, a successful cup player, but a cup player for Liverpool. There was Harvey Elliott in there, hasn't played since the league game. You start with Curtis Jones, who isn't a regular starter. No Virgil van Dijk, no Mo Salah. And yet to still get the result. What do you think that does to the team, to the squad, to the atmosphere going into training the next day?
I think the fact that they've played in pretty much every game there is available this season, or going to be, I think that only gives the players a lift, especially the ones on the bench. I think Klopp has used his team in the depth very, very well, and also we can see that Liverpool now have more depth, especially with the addition of Luis Diaz. I think he's been magnificent. I think it's great to see Harvey Elliott back, and obviously we know about Curtis, and I think Thiago has found his form, what everybody knows he's capable of. So now he's in a position, especially with the front three, where he can leave Salah and Mane out. Last season he couldn't do that before, but now he can and still come away from games and take 3 points. And yesterday, the game just gone, he's now able to let Virgil rest and people like that rest. So you can see the way that he's building it is perfect, because he may add 1 player a season, and if they're struggling, maybe 1 in January, whereas other teams had 3 or 4 players. So they're building it very, very well.
It's testament, I think, to how he's kept a team challenging on all fronts, keeping, 20-odd players happy, to the point where you can change 9 players, the second to last game of the season, and they come in and they are fighting because they know exactly what's at stake. You can easily, 9 players, can easily find players who are like, I haven't been involved, they're sulking and this and that, who are not quite at it. But the way he's kept that whole squad like pulling in the same direction, honestly, it's testament to his managing skills. His man management skills have to be mentioned now.
3 defeats in 61 games this season. One of them was in a Champions League tie that was already sorted from the first leg, and 2 of them have been in the league as we get into this stage. And for the first time ever, Darren, the title race, the final Champions League position and the relegation battle are all going to be finalised on the final day. Where'd you send your reporters?
Yeah. To be fair, all leave has been cancelled for this weekend. But everything's going to be focused at the top. I've got to say a couple of things. One is that I think whoever picked out that picture for this discussion needs a pay rise. Klopp there. I love the expression on his face. The second thing is that I actually did think about your Chelsea, actually, because I remember you had Petr Cech in goal and Carlo Cudicini, who was exceptional anyway, and he had to kind of step back so that Cech could be number 1. You had Joe Cole in your squad, you had Carvalho and Gallas and Terry, and who's the other centre-half you had?
Gallas was there. You had Carvalho,
Terry.
And they basically, and Robert Huth
Robert
Was
Huth,
in and around that
Wayne
area.
Bridge and Ashley Cole. Yeah, I mean, anyway, you had so much depth in that squad, and Liverpool have that depth. And what's quite interesting about the Liverpool team and the squad is that I think when they felt we could reel in City, but let's focus on the cup competition so that we can actually win things, win some silverware. Those players came in, like your Minaminos, like your Curtis Jones or whatever else, and they did so well to get all the way to the end. Where the man management came in was that he said, look, we got to the final. Finals are for winning. The big boys are going to play. And those players, they've got the belief in his ability, his man management to say, we'll step back.
Yeah.
But then they come back, the 9 changes for the Southampton game, and they win it. And that's why they've got such a happy ship. So where do we send everyone? Well, we send people definitely to Liverpool, because I think the fact that they've made City have to be asked a question means that you just can't legislate for what might happen on the final day. But also at the bottom, there'll be so much drama regardless who goes down. And of course, in North London, that's a massive story, because whoever does finish in the top 4 could be transformative for the next few years for them.
I mean, equally, we'll talk more about the top 4 race. Equally, Everton might not be safe by then as well. So you've got a double story there as well, potentially.
Yeah, I know. And I think we're not going to pay overtime because...
Bankrupt the paper.
Quite. But I certainly think as far as we are concerned on Sunday, I mean, listen, not to bore you with details, but we have digital operation and we have a print operation, and I think there will be just such a huge volume of information and work and reaction, and that will go into Sunday. It will be a final day like no other as far as journalists are concerned in the Premier League. Partly because of the clubs, partly because of the positions surrounding the club, partly because of the individuals like Pickford, for example. You were talking about Richarlison. Someone is going to be a hero on Sunday afternoon. Someone is going to be the villain. Someone's going to make the mistake that is going to gift victory. Someone's going to come up with a moment of magic on Sunday, the Aguero moment that is going to dig a team out of a hole that you possibly didn't expect them to be in. That's what sets Sunday up for being such a fabulous final day.
Yeah, Manchester City will be hoping that 10 years on there is another Aguero moment, or maybe a little less tense at the Etihad for their game. Let's hear from Pep Guardiola.
I'm incredibly proud. We are incredibly proud, consistent in the... I can say it because I've been in other countries, in other leagues, the toughest league in the world, and been consistent against these rivals. Not just Liverpool, there's almost the perfect team. Chelsea, United, Tottenham, Arsenal, Leicester, and especially the teams like the middle table, like Brighton, Aston Villa, Brentford have done this season. So many teams fighting every 3 days during 4 or 5 years is more than remarkable, and maybe it's the best prize that we have. In the sport, win is so difficult, but win again, or being there to win again is the more difficult thing. You have a tendency to relax. And the moment you relax, they are working. And when you are relaxing and they are working, you are not going to win. That's why after a few seasons in this league and being in every competition, arriving most of the times, all the time in semi-finals, in the latter stages in all competitions, it's so important. When we talk about tactics, we have to talk about the football players. And of course, we're going to do everything to adapt his skills to the team, because if he adapts to us, he cannot be happy and he cannot produce the talent that he has, is no sense. So we have to adapt to the players, but at the same time, the players know they doesn't play alone. I don't expect anything that he feels comfortable with us, that's all. Now we have the last chance to close an incredible circle in the last game against Aston Villa, and we will do our lives, we will do absolutely everything to get it.
very calm Pep Guardiola, which is exactly what Manchester City need as they go into this final day of the season. Look, they've been remarkably consistent, not just across this season, but this could be their 4th title in 5 seasons. And there has just been a level of excellence that we haven't seen before. There's no reason. I know it's open on the last day. It's possible on the last day, but there's no reason that we've seen to suspect that City will drop points, is there?
No, but when they played that game, which Sean was playing in against QPR, they played as poorly as I think I saw them play all season. And then we did get the Aguero moment. So, like I say, Liverpool asking the question right to death is why you do that. Because you might get a QPR who've already been relegated or whatever, or you might get a team that's already been relegated and they just want to do it for the fans. They just want to make it difficult for you. So I'm sure that he knows and the players will know because they've been through it so many times. They won't take it for granted. But again, you listen to him and you listen to him talking about the teams and the challenges he's had from teams this season, the way that Liverpool have pushed them. And again, we're talking about a magnificent manager with a fantastic team. So you'd expect them to see it over the line, but again, it's the last day of the season and anything can happen.
Since then, though, they've had 10 years' worth of big days, big occasions at the Etihad, huge pressure on their shoulders, Manchester City, and they've managed to come through okay.
Yeah, they have. I think that goes down to Pep, to be honest with you, and his coaching team. He's been through all those situations and positions before, Barcelona and Bayern Munich. So to have a manager that kind of understands it does help you through it as well. They always say as a player, you tend to kind of live through your manager. So if your manager's all frantic, that's kind of how you reflect on the pitch, basically. Your emotions are truly the same. So I feel that they would have learned a lot. I feel like they all know how to handle it now. And I think that slip-up was against West Ham just gone, where they went 2-0 behind. And I think that shook them up a little bit, so they know not to start this game and be in that position ever again.
Yeah, potentially it could work in Manchester City's favour going into this final game of the season. It is against Aston Villa, of course, and there are all the narratives around that, with Jack Grealish playing against his old side, with Philippe Coutinho playing against his old side, and, of course, Villa being managed by Steven Gerrard. There are so many stories around this. On the angle that the media, of which we're part of, takes, Guardiola's spoken out in the last week or so about feeling that everybody wants Liverpool to win. Everybody wants Liverpool to win. Everybody's on Liverpool's side. Is it the case that there's a lot of positivity around Liverpool, or is it the case that it's a better story in the same way that 10 years ago Manchester City overturning Manchester United was a better story?
I think both of them are brilliant stories, because I think what we love to see in sport, let alone football, is excellence, supremacy. We love people who win, but we love greats, and we're looking at City. They are one of the all-time greats now. They've taken the Premier League title race to levels we have never seen in this country before. The consistency levels, the performances. I think they've scored 3 goals or more, something like 16, 17 occasions so far this season. I mean, they are just out of this world. And for Liverpool to run them close, having only won 1 of 6 Premier League games in December, is outstanding. So I think it's really... We're spoilt for choice in the media. I spoke earlier about the fact that you have to be a football fan to be a journalist, I think, to understand football, to understand what people go through. People, whether it's despair at Everton, whether it's elation at City, you have to understand that. But when you are a journalist, you are objective. You are always objective. And the story is the story, however it unfolds. You never go... I find that often people who support a team are harder, in my profession, on that team than they are on other teams, because they don't want to be seen to be showing favouritism. So whenever people say, oh, you're all in the media and you all want Liverpool to win, actually, I can tell you there are more people in the media who support West Ham than support Liverpool. So that whole idea that everybody wants, it's just not true.
You know the thing what I have to say with it is that as great as City are, and they are great, what's it, 4 in the last 5?
Will be if they
will be if they do it. It's an unbelievable feat. But I think unless, and I don't know what Sean will think, unless they can put the Champions League trophy in their cabinet as well, I think that Liverpool, for me, and I know they say that a lot of people in the media want them. If I'm in the media, I do want Liverpool to do it because, like Darren says, you want to see greatness, you want to see excellence, and what they're going for is all of those things. But I think as great as they are, if they don't get that Champions League, and probably Erling Haaland coming along might help them with that, then they don't get the credit they deserve because they won't have got the main one, which Liverpool have, and they've done it on a few occasions. It was like 2005. We've seen it again recently when they won it against Tottenham. And the fact is, you have to add that to it. And it's the same with, I'd say, about that unbelievable, invincible side. Of course, I could speak about them very fondly, and being Arsenal, and they were unbelievable. But for them to go to that place, 2006 they needed to win that against Barcelona.
So there's an argument for saying that lots of people in that season, but people say, "Oh, you're Arsenal fans," but it's not that they were Arsenal fans in that season. It was that they were once they began to build that momentum. In the same way that when a snooker player has a 147 on, you want them to do it.
Yes.
You want to see them achieve it, not because you're against any other player, but you just want to see if it can be done.
Or Manchester United's treble-winning season.
Exactly,
Absolutely.
exactly what it is.
And I think so many teams have. It became possible to do the quadruple in 1960. I think 17 teams have tried to do it. They've all failed. Some of them have got 3, some of them have got 2. Nobody's done all 4. So there's that fascination with whether Liverpool can actually do it. It doesn't turn people into fans. It just turns them into people who are fascinated by the potential. And no team's got this deep, as you were saying, into the season.
And the same thing would you say with the treble, the 99 side. You look at the way that went. The FA Cup, Peter Schmeichel saves the penalty. Ryan Giggs comes on, scores unbelievable goal. Yes, they win the FA Cup, but there's no way on earth they should have beat Bayern Munich that night. And they've done it, and people are talking about them as one of the great sides. They didn't play amazingly. City have played amazingly. And what Man United have that City won't is that they've got that trophy to put in there to kind of like rubber stamp that era. City need to do that with this team. Hopefully Erling Haaland will come in and maybe help them do that. But the fact is, at the moment, whatever happens with Liverpool this season, the Klopp era will go down as one of the greatest we've ever seen. You know what I mean? Pep's will go down as one of the greatest Premier League we've ever seen, but Klopp with the Champions League, it's one of the greatest we've ever seen. He rubber stamps his team and his era.
I mean, having said all of that about the games that Liverpool have been involved in, they've got 2 trophies, potentially with the Champions League final to come, that they are still technically on course, although it's in City's hands in terms of the Premier League. But Manchester City have played in all but maybe 3 of the games that Liverpool could have done this season. They got to the semi-final of the Champions League. Yeah. They got to the semi-final of the FA Cup, semi-final of the League Cup as well, wasn't it? So it's only 3 games that they will have played fewer than Liverpool.
Yeah, but I could bet your dollar on it. He would rather have played those 3 games than be out of them. But just sometimes that's the way it goes. And when they did happen, I kind of, in my head, I kind of thought he didn't mind too much about being knocked out of those because it felt like all his focus was on the Premier League and the Champions League. And obviously the run and where it's going, they're in great positions to both until what happens at the Bernabeu happens, which nobody saw coming. But then the thing that he does great is gets everybody refocused after a devastating defeat that they took, which should never have happened, to get them back into the groove of coming away from the season, possibly winning something. Because if they don't win nothing this season, considering like you said, how many games they've been involved in, which means they've done fantastically well this season, turns out to be a bad season, which nobody really wants to see, especially me.
How do you think it's going to feel at the Etihad on Sunday?
It's going to be electrifying. I'm actually going to be there as a fan, even though I'm working, but I'll be there.
Working and as a fan, yeah. Will there be tension?
Yeah, definitely. I think a lot of people's asked me about this rivalry between Liverpool and Man City. And I said that I don't know how to explain it, but it's not like a rivalry of Man United versus Liverpool or Chelsea versus Liverpool.
It's not historic, is it?
It's not historic yet, but I think what I love about the rivalry so much is it's just a battle of brains and football talent and excellence, and to see who can out-football the other team. And I think it's great that you don't see malicious tackles, although they do go in hard. All they want to do is just be the better footballing team and come away from it saying, yeah, we outclassed them today, and we've done it throughout the season. Whereas when I've seen rivalries before, someone gets sent off, there's always a fight in a tunnel, or there's a red card, a yellow card.
No, I mean, not that we're against that.
Yeah, I know. Obviously, you need that.
If Man City win the Champions League, like let's say they do it next season, which of these two are the best in this era then?
I see. For me, I think it's going to be very objective. I think it's going to be a preference to people in general. So I love the way Liverpool play, but if I'm a neutral, I would go and watch Man City all the time because I just like that style of football. I like the way they play, I like the chances they create, and I like the way they get them. Whereas I feel like Liverpool play that controlling football sometimes, but they're more, let's get the ball, and every time we get it, because we know we got that defence, we're going for the jugular every time. Their wingers don't really hold back. Whereas you'll see City wingers, you'll see every time Jack gets on the ball, everyone's like, go on, Jack, and then he'll come back, go out the other side. Whereas Liverpool, if they get you one-on-one, they're going for you. And then if they can't get past you, then they come back out.
It's the Messi-Ronaldo argument, isn't it? It's just...
Yeah, but the thing is that, you know, because City are so good, teams are so afraid. I watch City sometimes, and it's very difficult to watch sometimes. And it's not because, oh, my, it's turgid or it's boring, but they're doing some people.
Do you think that's because Sean's more patient than you are?
Maybe. But like, I will go. No, but you watch that, and it's not being disrespectful to City. I'm just saying teams are so afraid. They have to make those blocks, and they have to do the deep block to stop them, because we've seen Kevin De Bruyne, the game's over. But Liverpool, no matter what form they're in, you can feel that on the right day, if the team can stop them in certain places, you can actually get at them. You can get at them, and you can get them more frequently than City. And there's more jeopardy watching Liverpool for me when I watch it, and it kind of makes you feel something in your stomach.
All right, so Dad, so you would rather Arsenal be in control?
Don't come to me. Stay with these.
Or you would rather, right? So if we're talking about Arsenal, you would rather Arsenal be in Liverpool's position where there's a chance of jeopardy, or be in Man City's position where they're in total control?
Jeopardy.
Seriously?
Yeah, because you want something to be afraid of, man. Man City players, yeah, but that's what Man City fans go into games knowing. Yeah, we're going to probably win this. So then Liverpool fans go in saying, yeah, we're good enough to... But, like, if we get this wrong, it could be... there's more jeopardy on Liverpool.
Is it because the wins feel better? Is that why?
No, because it gets to a stage with Man City, because they're so good that after a while you're watching the team, can they hold out this defence? And Man City break it, and then you go, oh, I knew that was going to happen. Then all of a sudden you haven't got the same vibe in your stomach. Whereas Liverpool, it goes and goes. It make 9 changes when they're going to maybe do the quadruple at Southampton, make 9 changes. I want to see that game.
Dad, but then if Arsenal control the ball, control the game at St James's Park, they're most probably in the Champions League next season.
Yeah, but this is what's great about Arsenal. You can't go into a game with Arsenal any time this season and say, yeah, no problem, we're gonna win this game. Supporting Arsenal is why, if I had here, it'd be great. It would be, because you can't go into a game with Arsenal like City can, to a certain extent Liverpool fans can, and say, no, we're going to be OK in this game. So that's why, with Arsenal, Sean, you asked me that question, and no, I'd rather the jeopardy and them continue to grow how they're growing at the moment.
But I honestly, I said it earlier.
Don't come to me.
I'm going to wrap up because we're going to get But it does. It's almost like the Ronaldo-Messi argument. It effectively comes down to how do you want the team? Once you're talking about that level of brilliance, it comes down to what do I want an individual footballer, or what do I want a team to make me feel? And at that stage, you can't argue the point, because it's entirely personal. Because in terms of the levels of excellence, there's nothing really to split between it. But you two are, because you're related, so that's...